Hey guys, how are y'all today? I hope you are finding this day well. I miss you guys incredibly so much. I cannot wait to see you. And when I do see you, we probably won't be able to hug, but I'm ready for those fist bumps, okay? Maybe it won't be too much longer. Y'all keep praying. I'm going to keep praying. Things will happen, I promise. So today's story is about a wonderful, awesome, exciting rescue. Now, I have a rescue story. It's not very awesome or exciting, but it's still a rescue story. So I'm going to share it with you. So some years ago, and it was, y'all, this was way back because it was before cell phones. I know y'all don't remember that time, but there was a time when we did not have cell phones. And so I was leaving my mom's house in Alabama, and I had three of the children with me, and we were driving back home, and all of a sudden my van just died. It just would not go anymore, and I couldn't get it to crank up. That means I lost all power. The windows wouldn't roll down, the radio wouldn't turn on, the air wouldn't turn on. And so we're sitting on the side of the road. We have the doors open because it was pretty hot that day. And so we had the doors open, and I'm just praying. And so finally, a lot of cars passed us and nobody stopped, And so I'm just kind of praying. I wouldn't let the kids unbuckle because I was scared they would dart out into the road. And so we were all kind of miserable, And finally a car stopped, and the man asked me, could he help me? And I said, well, if you can just call my husband, I think he can help me. Well, he had to go somewhere and call him because remember, no cell phones. And so I gave him my husband's phone number. He was at work, so I gave him that number, and then he left and he never came back. So I didn't know if he got to call him or not. So I'm just sitting there, and the whole time I'm praying, Lord, just let me crank it up. And I keep trying to crank it, it never would. And I'm just praying, just let me crank it up. Just let me crank it up. And so finally I look up and I see this tow truck pulling over in front of me. He's actually backing in front of me. And behind that tow truck is my husband. And I was like, oh, we're rescued. Yay. And the kids were super happy to see their dad. And they knew everything was going to be okay because their dad had come. And that, I was praising God all the way home for keeping us safe. For getting, my husband had the forethought, look, I got to get the van home. So he called the wrecker, and he came. And so I knew God had rescued us. And, sometimes God doesn't rescue us in the way that we think we need to be rescued. I was just thinking, just let me crank up the car and get home. I wasn't too far from the Georgia line. And so I thought if I could just, just get home, it'll be great. But, that wasn't the way he answered. But you know what? I didn't care. I was just so glad that he answered my prayer and that we all got home safely, which was, the gist of my prayer, that we all just get home safely. It was kind of getting dark. We were getting a little scary. So, I know that rescue story is not amazing and exciting, but the one I'm about to read to you is amazing and exciting. Okay. So are y'all ready? So it's Acts. Y'all know that one. It's in the middle of the Bible, kind of. Not in the middle, I'm sorry, toward the end of the Bible in the New Testament, because everything after Jesus came is in the New Testament. Acts, it's an easy word, small little letters, so, you can find it. Chapter 12, that's going to be in the big letters, big numbers, chapter 12. And then we're going to start with verse 1, so that's super duper easy, right? So I'm going to start reading this story, and you can try to find it as I'm reading along, or you can just wait till later and read it yourself, okay? So, about that time, King Herod Agrippa began to persecute some believers in the church. That means he wasn't very nice to some of the believers. He was killing believers. He was just, imprisoning believers. It was terrible. He had the apostle James killed with a sword. How sad is that? And when Herod saw how much this pleased the Jewish leaders, which is even sadder, he arrested Peter during the Passover celebration and imprisoned him, placing him under the guard of 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. Herod's intention was to bring Peter out for public trial after the Passover. Now, you remember what the Passover was. Remember when we were trying to escape Pharaoh, they put the blood over the houses and the death angels passed over those. Remember that? We talked about that a long time ago, but I know you can remember it. If you can't remember it, go and ask Mom and Dad to help you find that story later, okay? But while Peter was in prison, the church prayed very earnestly for him. The whole entire church was praying for Peter, okay? The night before Peter was to be placed on trial, he was asleep, and he was chained between two soldiers, with others standing guard at the prison gate. Suddenly, there was a big, bright light in the cell, and an angel of the Lord stood before Peter. The angel tapped him on the side to waken him, and he said, "Quick, get up!" And the chains fell off his wrist. Then the angels told him, "Get dressed and put on your sandals," and he did. "Now, put on your coat and follow me," the angel ordered. So Peter left the cell following the angel, but all the time he thought it was a vision. He thought he was dreaming. He didn't know he was really doing it. Have you ever done that? You ever had a dream that you thought was so real? Well, that's what he thinks this is. He thinks it's just a vision. He didn't realize it was really happening. And they passed the first and second guard posts, and they came to the iron gate to the street, and this opened to them all by itself. So they passed through and they started walking down the street, and then the angel suddenly left him. Peter finally realized what happened. "It's really true," he said to himself. "The Lord has sent his angel, and he saved me from Herod and from what the Jews were hoping to do to me." And after a little thought, he went to the home of Mary, the mother of John Mark, where many were gathered there for prayer, and he knocked on the door of the gate, and the servant girl named Rhoda came to open it. And when she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed that instead of opening the door, she ran back inside and told everyone, "Peter is standing at the door." "You're out of your mind," they said. And then when she insisted, they decided it must be his angel. They thought he had died, maybe. Meanwhile, Peter continued knocking, and when they finally came out and opened the door, they were amazed. He motioned for them to quiet down, and he told them what happened and how the Lord had let him out of jail. And he said, "Tell James and the other brothers what happened," he said. And then he went to another place. How cool is that? How cool. Now that is a rescue story. That is an awesome rescue story. That is an amazing rescue story, because here Peter knows that Herod Agrippa has already killed people for preaching the word like he is doing. And he is put in prison. So he knows that probably the next thing that's going to happen to him is he's going to die. And so do you think that he was defeated and discouraged? He's chained up between two prisoners, and there's prisoners outside the door, and then there's guards outside the door. He's chained to two guards. There's guards outside the door, and there's guards at the gate. And he knows there's no escaping, so he's just accepted his fate. And I wonder what his prayer was at that time. But the whole church was praying for him. Those that were gathered at Mary's house were praying for him. And so he had all these people praying. He was probably praying, but I'm wondering, was he praying, "Lord, send an angel so I can get out of here"? I don't know. I don't know, or maybe he was just praying, "Don't let me die." I don't know. But, we might not have been thrown in jail, but you might have had a time in your life where you've gone through something hard or felt discouraged. And maybe someone has treated you badly, or you got into trouble when you didn't deserve it. That's happened to me before. Peter didn't deserve to be in jail, but Peter didn't stay in jail either. Something amazing happened. And you know what? Do you think God only does those miracles just for people like Peter? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think that God takes care of us all. He sends angels to us all the time, and maybe we don't recognize it. But when God broke those chains and gave Peter freedom, freedom is an important word. An important word. Because God can give us freedom too. Did you know that? Sometimes things hold us back. Maybe not guards on each side of us, but sometimes thoughts or things can hold us back. And he can help us overcome anything. Anything. We don't have to be anything that we are tempted by or afraid of. God can help us overcome those things. I used to be, I kind of still am a little bit, but I am terribly afraid of heights. It scares me to climb up a ladder or to be on a bridge that's really high, or You know, sometimes you go to Pine Mountain and you walk over that. That terrifies me. Heights just make me so scared, but I'm not as scared as I used to be. And it's not because I'm an adult, because a lot of adults are scared of heights. It's because I know that God is with me. And I can feel him, and I just pray right before, you know, if I'm going over a bridge or if I'm coming to anything that scares me, I just pray for God to be with me. And now sometimes that fear just doesn't immediately leave me, but sometimes I can feel myself becoming braver just because I know God is with me. The word freedom, I talked about that. Our big idea of the day is Jesus gives us freedom. Jesus does give us freedom. He can give us freedom from those thoughts that hold us back. Thoughts that maybe you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're not pretty enough, or you're not tall enough, or you're not skinny enough, or, you know, you're not strong enough. God can give us freedom from that, because guess what? You, no matter where you are, what size you are, what color you are, how long your hair is or how short your hair is, you are enough. You are everything enough. You're smart enough. You're brave enough. You're strong enough. You are enough in that freedom that Jesus gives you. And you know what? So am I. And I have to tell myself that a lot. Yep. Even adults have to do it sometimes, because adults think that way too sometimes. Even your mom and dad sometimes don't think they're good enough mom and dad sometimes. And you know they are, right? So God set Peter free from jail. Now, you know, of course, we're not in jail. You've probably never been to jail. I've never been to jail. But you might have things that are holding you down or hurting you. And some things might have kept us a prisoner of our bad choices. Sometimes when we make one bad choice, it leads into another bad choice and another bad choice and another bad choice. And we don't think we can get out of those bad choices. The bad choices that we make are like those chains that held Peter down. They're just like that. And we can pray and God can free us from that, just like he freed Peter from those chains. Now, I think I used to be like that when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I don't know what my problem was, but I had a terrible time with lying. I made up stories all the time. And so my mom quickly figured it out, you know, but I felt like I could not escape it. Like once I told one lie, I had to tell another lie, another lie, another lie, another lie. But finally, I just realized that that's not who God created me to be. God created me to be truthful and to walk in truth. And so every time my mind would think of something to tell a lie about, my heart would tell me, don't do it. And so I didn't. Who do you think did that? You think that might have been the Holy Spirit? Probably so. Remember, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago and last week too, right? So what do you need God to set you free from? Maybe you need God to set you free from something, right? I don't know. There are all kinds of things in our life that God needs to break us free from. We have things in our life like problems, fears, sin. And sin is anything that we do that God doesn't want us to do. Now, you know, those are hard. Sometimes it's hard not to sin, right? I mean, you know, sometimes our mind just tells us to do things that we know isn't right, and we just follow right along with it like, you know, it's no big deal, but we know better in our hearts, right? So sometimes when your mind is telling you to do things, I want you to stop. I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to check with your heart to make sure that that's the right thing to do. And you'll always know, because your heart will always let you know if that's the right thing to do. And you just say, well, you know what, does God want me to do this? I don't know. So today I made something because it's going to help me remember to break those chains and to take everything that I do to God, right? So I just got strips of paper. Now you can use colored paper or you can use white paper. It doesn't matter. Whatever you have at home is fine. I'm sure you have some kind of paper at home, and some kind of, mom can cut these strips for you, or you can cut them yourselves. I'm sure mom, you know, has some kind of little scissors that you can use at home, or if she doesn't, she can cut them for you. She can also help you write things down. So you write things down on there that you're dealing with. So I've already and we're gonna make a prayer chain. I'm sure you've done this 1,000 times before, right? So we're gonna make a prayer chain. Here's my prayer chain. And so here's some of the things I have on here in case you just can't think of anything that you struggle with that you need to break free from. So the first thing I put on here was being disobedient. Now, it's hard to think of an adult as being disobedient, but you know what? Sometimes we are. Sometimes I'm disobedient to what God tells me to do. Or I doubt it's from God, or I think I misunderstand God, but I'm disobedient, and I'm asking God to break me free from that. And I have another one here that says, oh, being afraid. You know, I am so tired of being afraid, and I know that's not of God. And so I'm asking God to help me break free. I need freedom from being afraid. And I have another one on here that says, not listening. See, adults cannot listen too. I'm sure you've asked your mom and dad, were you even listening to me? And I'm pretty sure they've said that to you. Not listening is a big thing. I am sometimes not a good listener. And so I'm asking God to help me break free from that because I need to be a good listener. And so those are a few things that I'm asking God to help me with. And guess what, guys? I've got more paper here because I know I'm going to write more things down. You know what? I'm going to hang it right here behind me in my office. And that way I can just add to it every time I think of something that I need to be set free from, that I need freedom from. And I can pray over these things every day. Every day, guys. You know what? Prayer is so important. Did you see what happened? Do you know why Peter was set free? Because the church was praying for them. Everyone in Mary's house was praying for them. Prayer, that's so important. That's how you're going to break these chains. That's how you're going to be free from anything that's holding you back. Anything that you feel like is holding you like Peter's chains were. It's going to be prayer. And you need to do that every day. Now, I know a lot of you say bedtime prayers at night, and that is wonderful. I love that, especially if mom and dad pray with you. I love that. But guess what? That's not the only time you can pray. I know a lot of you, when you sit down to dinner, you go ahead and say your prayer over your blessing over your meal. And that is amazing. I love that too. But guess what, guys? You can pray any time of the day. You can pray when you wake up. And sometimes when you pray, you know what? You don't have to go into a closet and close your eyes. And you can just pray while you're getting dressed in the morning. You know, as you're getting those pajamas on or at night, or as you're getting dressed in the morning, you can say, you know what, God, thank you for this day. And I just want you to be with me all day today. Help me make the right choices, to say the right words, to do the right actions. Help me to do everything that you want me to do today. In the mornings, I always do yoga. And after yoga, I just tell God how I feel. You know, here's how I feel this morning. I feel like this morning I said, I feel tired. I feel afraid. Yeah, I even tell God that I feel like I'm not enough. And then you know what I do? I just kneel down and I say, you know what, God, but I know you love me, and I know that you're going to make me feel brave today. I know that you're going to give me strength today, and I know that you're going to love me today. That's pretty easy, huh? You guys can do that. You don't have to lay down or, stop what you're doing. You can pray while you're moving around. You sure can. When you're running outside playing and you look up and you see the beautiful sky, you can just go ahead and thank God right there for anything in your day you want to thank God for. Prayer is really, really important. Prayer and reading our Bible is really, really important every day. And I'm going to encourage you to do that on a daily basis. I would love for you guys to let me know what verses you're reading. If you just read one verse a day, I want to challenge you. My challenge to you is to read one verse a day, okay? Mom and dad can help you. You can read one verse a day or one story out of your picture Bible a day. And your mom can tell me, or your dad can tell me on Facebook what you've read. Parents, I need kids, y'all get your parents in. Everybody come on. Help them to read today. Help them read one verse a day or one Bible story a day. and let me know what they're reading. That would be my heart would probably explode if you guys would let me know what you're reading. And you know what? I'm going to do the same. I'm going to let you know what I'm reading. I read my Bible every morning. Every morning. And I've read this whole thing a lot of times, and every time it tells me something different. Not that the words change, is that I get something different out of the words every time. The Bible is an amazing, amazing rescue story, and it's your rescue story. So you need to read it every day. All right, guys, until next Sunday, I'll see you later. And I hope you guys have just a terrific day and a terrific weekend. And may we all get together soon. Bye, guys.